Welcome to Dolphin Dive Daily, your go-to spot for everything Miami Dolphins. If you bleed aqua and orange, hit that subscribe button and join the pod. The Miami Dolphins looked unstoppable on Sunday, carving through the Atlanta Falcons with a mix of precision, power, and poise that had fans buzzing and critics momentarily silenced. Mike McDaniel, whose seat has been the subject of heated debate all season, orchestrated a masterclass in play calling, mixing aggressive downfield throws with clever misdirection and calculated runs that kept the Falcons reeling from start to finish. The Dolphins' offensive line opened gaps like a hot knife through butter, while the backfield capitalized on every opportunity, painting a picture of dominance that seemed to erase weeks of skepticism surrounding McDaniel's leadership. For a few precious hours, the noise over his job security was muted, drowned out by the roar of a stadium witnessing one of Miami's most commanding performances in recent memory. Yet, while the victory was impressive and deserved celebration, it also highlighted a persistent flaw in McDaniel's decision-making, a flaw that has reared its head at the most inopportune times and threatens to overshadow even the brightest moments of success. The central concern was Minkah Fitzpatrick, arguably the Dolphins' most critical defensive asset, remaining on the field well into the fourth quarter of a game already decided. By the time Miami led 34-3, the contest was effectively over. The Falcons were scrambling, the Dolphins' momentum undeniable, and the outcome no longer in doubt. Yet Fitzpatrick, coming off a play where he sustained a thumb injury following a 25-yard completion from Kirk Cousins, remained in the lineup. The reasoning behind this decision is baffling. Fitzpatrick is not a player who can be lightly risked, especially with a looming Thursday night matchup against the Baltimore Ravens, a team capable of dismantling a defense if key players are absent or compromised. History offers a stark warning. Just last December, the Dolphins faced Baltimore with Bradley Chubb on the field late in a game that was already out of reach. Chubb suffered a season-ending knee injury during a run by Melvin Gordon with over 3 minutes remaining and the Dolphins trailing 49-19. The situation was nearly identical in nature, a dominant game or an impossible comeback, and yet the same mistake repeated itself under McDaniel's watch. McDaniel's explanation after the Ravens' debacle was candid, if somewhat defensive. He admitted that hindsight offered a clear perspective. Starters should not have been exposed to injury in scenarios where the outcome was effectively decided. His reasoning, rooted in fostering a sense of completion and reinforcing team cohesion, is understandable on a human level but borders on reckless in a professional football context. "It's me," McDaniel said at the time, acknowledging full responsibility for putting players in harm's way. "In hindsight, I would absolutely not have one of them out there if I had known that he was going to get hurt, for sure. That's a known part of the job that I understand fully. It doesn't look smart at all." He added that the intent was to provide players with an opportunity to finish the game with dignity, a chance to reaffirm their expectations and build confidence heading into future contests. While the sentiment is noble, the practical risk to team assets, players whose presence may define the outcome of crucial upcoming games, is enormous. Injuries in scenarios like these are preventable, avoidable, and entirely unnecessary. Fast forward to Sunday, and we see the same pattern manifesting itself yet again. Fitzpatrick, alongside edge rusher Jaelan Phillips, remained on the field in the final minutes despite the game being thoroughly secured. Miami had already lost safety Ashton Davis earlier in the contest, yet other defensive backs could have easily substituted for Fitzpatrick, allowing the team to maintain dominance while protecting key personnel. Phillips, the edge defender logging the most snaps this season, was similarly exposed, a player whose presence late in a game of such lopsided advantage seemed excessive at best. The Dolphins' performance against Atlanta was admirable, their defense sharp and opportunistic, but McDaniel's choice to leave starters in a low-risk, high-reward situation was questionable. The lesson that should have been learned from the Baltimore debacle, protect the players, especially when the game's outcome is beyond doubt, was, unfortunately, not fully absorbed. Critics and fans alike are left to hope that this misstep is an anomaly rather than the start of a troubling pattern. And yet, the defense's performance against Atlanta cannot be ignored because it was exemplary in many respects. Anthony Weaver's unit, once criticized for underperformance against teams like the Panthers and Chargers, displayed a cohesiveness and intensity that had been missing earlier in the season. The rushing defense smothered Atlanta's vaunted running attack, holding them to just 10 yards in the first half, while consistent quarterback pressure disrupted timing and forced errors throughout the game. Jalen Phillips, Chop Robinson, and Bradley Chubb each contributed multiple pressures, showcasing the kind of dominance in the front seven that had fans expecting greatness from the start of the season. Meanwhile, Jordan Brooks continued to impress with tackles for loss and sacks, proving his worth as a defensive anchor. Rookies Kenneth Grant and Jordan Phillips also demonstrated noticeable improvement, hinting at a depth in the defensive interior that could pay dividends as the season progresses. The secondary, often overlooked in prior matchups, rose to the occasion. Fitzpatrick's impact, even with his late-game injury, was undeniable. Rasul Douglas continued to deliver high-impact plays week after week, while Dante Trader Jr., coming off a benching the previous week, redeemed himself with physical and timely hits. This display of defensive competence not only contributed to the blowout victory, but also signaled that the Dolphins may have the defensive foundation necessary to weather a turbulent offensive season, especially with Tyreek Hill sidelined and Darren Waller facing an extended absence. The offensive line, already missing James Daniels and Austin Jackson, would also rely heavily on this resurgence of defensive strength to maintain competitiveness in the AFC East. It's a testament to the duality of McDaniel's coaching that the same game can provide so much optimism while simultaneously exposing a glaring, repeatable flaw. Miami fans can celebrate the defensive strides, the efficient and explosive offensive execution, and the overall morale boost that comes with such a decisive win. At the same time, they are reminded of the fragility that accompanies McDaniel's decision-making when it comes to player protection. History warns us that an injury to Fitzpatrick or Phillips in the waning moments could have cascading consequences against a Ravens team that may see Lamar Jackson return to form, capable of exploiting any lapse in the Dolphins' defense. The stakes are enormous, and McDaniel's choices carry weight far beyond a single game or moment of pride. Winning games is essential, but safeguarding the team's future and its most valuable assets is equally, if not more, critical. This tension between immediate gratification and long-term prudence is a lesson McDaniel has yet to fully master, a lesson that may very well define the Dolphins' season if not heeded. The narrative here is clear. Miami's defense is capable, the offense is dynamic, and the team has reasons for genuine optimism heading into the second half of the season. Yet the specter of preventable injuries looms large, a reminder that success in the NFL is as much about strategic restraint as it is about execution on the field. McDaniel's ability to reconcile these competing priorities, allowing his team to finish games with confidence while shielding key players from unnecessary harm, will be scrutinized with every subsequent matchup. The Dolphins' previous defensive resurgence when they were 2-6 serves as a hopeful precedent, showing that a strong defense can lift a team from mediocrity to contention. But history also serves as a warning, illustrating the consequences of misjudged risks and the tangible cost of exposing stars in situations where the outcome is already determined. The balance between nurturing team spirit, ensuring competitive integrity, and mitigating risk is delicate, and McDaniel's recent track record suggests it is a lesson that has not yet been fully internalized. As fans digest the emphatic win over Atlanta, the conversation inevitably shifts to Thursday night and the looming clash with Baltimore. Will McDaniel adjust his approach, prioritizing player safety and judicious rotation? Or will the same mistakes of the past repeat themselves, potentially altering the trajectory of the season in an instant? The Dolphins' defensive improvements provide reason for optimism, but the lingering question of strategic prudence shadows every discussion. In a league where a single injury can reshape playoff prospects, the decisions made in low-stakes moments are as consequential as the game-winning drives and highlight reel plays. Fitzpatrick's thumb injury, however minor it may prove, underscores the inherent tension in McDaniel's philosophy, the desire to finish strong versus the imperative to protect key contributors. Navigating this tension successfully could define not only McDaniel's legacy in Miami, but also the team's chances of mounting a sustained playoff push in a highly competitive AFC. In conclusion, the Dolphins' Sunday performance was a masterclass in dominance, resilience, and strategic execution on one level. yet also a stark reminder of a recurring flaw in Mike McDaniel's approach. The defensive resurgence under Anthony Weaver is real, tangible, and potentially transformative for Miami's fortunes, but it must be coupled with careful player management if the team hopes to contend with elite opponents. The Fitzpatrick situation highlights the stakes of neglecting this lesson, a risk that is unnecessary and preventable, yet emblematic of a broader pattern in McDaniel's tenure. As the Dolphins look ahead to Baltimore and beyond, the message is clear. Wins are vital, but safeguarding the team's core assets and learning from past mistakes is paramount. The promise of Miami's defense, combined with offensive cohesion, offers a pathway to success, but only if prudence tempers ambition. The clock is ticking, the season hangs in balance, and McDaniel's ability to internalize this lesson may well determine whether the Dolphins rise or fall in the critical months ahead. Still with us? Then show some love. Hit that like button and let us know in the comments. What's your take on the Fins this week? Hold on to your seats, sports fans, because what I'm about to tell you is shaking the NFL world like never before. In a move that no one saw coming, the NFL has officially confirmed what many had only whispered about until now. The game between the Atlanta Falcons and the Miami Dolphins has been canceled. Yes, you heard that right. A full-on cancellation, not a postponement, not a technical glitch, canceled. And the reason? Grave irregularities that have left the league scrambling and fans, players, and analysts in utter disbelief. We're talking about a situation so complex, so tangled, that it's already sparking debates across social media, sports talk shows, and locker rooms alike. People are calling it unprecedented, some are calling it scandalous, and others, well, they're just trying to wrap their heads around how something like this could even happen in a league as meticulously controlled as the NFL. The news broke late last night, first as a murmur among insiders, then spreading like wildfire when a trusted source tweeted, "Falcons vs. Dolphins game nullified by NFL due to severe irregularities." Initially, everyone thought it was a hoax, a prank, maybe even a miscommunication. But the NFL's official channels quickly confirmed the shocking report, sending shockwaves through fans everywhere. Imagine logging in to catch your team's latest clash, only to find out it's not going to happen. Not because of weather, not because of a scheduling conflict, but because of something much darker, something that calls into question the integrity of the very game you love. And the ripple effect is massive. Betting markets are in chaos, fantasy football leagues are reeling, and fans in Atlanta and Miami are voicing their outrage, disbelief, and frustration louder than ever. The NFL hasn't released all the details yet, but insiders are hinting at issues that could range from officiating failures to potential violations of league protocol, and possibly even actions that border on cheating or manipulation. What's particularly wild is that this revelation comes in the middle of a season that has already been full of surprises. Everyone expected a few tight games, some shocking plays, maybe even a few controversial calls, but no one expected an entire matchup to be erased from the record books. Analysts are scrambling to find precedent, and the truth is, there really isn't one. The NFL has canceled games in the past due to strikes or extreme weather conditions, sure, but never because of internal irregularities. This is a scenario that sits in a gray area so murky it could redefine how we think about fairness, oversight, and accountability in professional sports. And let me tell you, the buzz among former players, coaches, and commentators is intense. Some are suggesting that the irregularities are so severe that we might see sanctions against multiple parties, potentially even affecting future games, draft picks, or team standings. The thought alone has fans on edge, and speculation is running rampant. Speaking of speculation, let's dive into some of the rumors that are already making rounds. Some insiders hint at officiating that allegedly ignored clear fouls or perhaps even improperly influenced the outcome. Others suggest that technological systems, such as replay review or player tracking data, may have been tampered with, creating a scenario that could compromise the validity of the match. And then there's the player angle. Whispers of roster mismanagement or eligibility issues are floating around, and while nothing has been confirmed, it's enough to have everyone questioning not only this specific game, but the league's oversight mechanisms as a whole. Fans are dissecting every clip, replaying every moment, looking for signs of what went wrong, and social media has become a virtual investigation room where theory meets conjecture in real time. The intensity of the discussions reflects just how deeply this cancellation has cut into the hearts of those who live and breathe NFL football. The impact on the teams themselves is enormous. For the Falcons, a team that had been riding a wave of momentum, this cancellation is a huge blow. It's not just about missing a chance to win. It's about the disruption to strategy, rhythm, and morale. Players who had been preparing for weeks, coaches who had been meticulously crafting plays, suddenly have to recalibrate. On the other side, the Dolphins are facing a similar dilemma, compounded by the uncertainty of what this cancellation means for their season trajectory. Will this game be rescheduled? Will it be erased entirely from the records? Or is there a chance that the NFL might even impose retroactive consequences based on whatever the irregularities reveal? All of these questions are swirling in the air, unanswered, leaving fans to speculate wildly and experts to cautiously weigh in. And you better believe the locker room chatter is intense. Sources close to the team suggest that players are frustrated, confused, and more than a little angry, and that tension is bubbling under the surface in ways that could affect upcoming matchups. Meanwhile, the league itself is facing a PR nightmare. The NFL prides itself on being tightly regulated, with a zero-tolerance policy for misconduct, so the fact that this situation occurred and had to be publicly acknowledged is a massive hit to its reputation. Officials are reportedly holding emergency meetings behind closed doors, trying to determine not only how to handle the fallout, but also how to reassure fans and sponsors that the integrity of the sport remains intact. Statements released so far are careful, measured, and full of legalese, but they do little to quell the rumors, and in many ways, that only fuels the fire. Commentators are already drawing parallels to other sports scandals, while fans debate whether this could be the start of something bigger, a revelation that might expose cracks in the very foundation of the NFL's operational model. Every angle is being examined, every possibility considered, and the air of uncertainty is unlike anything we've seen in recent memory. The timing couldn't be more dramatic. We're in the thick of a season where playoff positioning is critical, and now one of the most anticipated matchups has effectively been erased. Fantasy football managers are in chaos, scrambling to adjust lineups and recalculate points. Betting syndicates are recalculating odds, trying to figure out if they need to void bets or impose new rules. And fans, well, they're tweeting, posting, and debating like never before, crafting narratives, dissecting every piece of evidence, and theorizing about what this all means for the league at large. Every sports talk show is dedicating segments to dissecting the implications, some focusing on the possible disciplinary actions, others on the potential long-term effects on fan trust and engagement. There's no consensus, only more questions and more speculation, which, honestly, is what makes this story so riveting and so unnerving. And the controversy isn't stopping there. Former NFL stars, analysts, and insiders are now weighing in, adding fuel to the fire. Some are calling for full investigations, others for accountability at the highest levels. Social media platforms are flooded with threads, videos, and polls asking, what went wrong, and who is responsible? Meanwhile, fans of both teams are taking sides, defending their clubs, while also demanding transparency and answers from a league that, until now, has always seemed untouchable. The dialogue is intense, passionate, and sometimes heated, showing just how much this cancellation matters to the community. It's not just about one game. It's about fairness, competition, and trust in the system that billions of dollars and the pride of countless fans rely on. In short, the cancellation of the Falcons versus Dolphins game has sent shockwaves throughout the NFL ecosystem. From players to coaches, fans to analysts, everyone is grappling with the implications. Rumors are swirling, speculation is rampant, and no one quite knows what will happen next. Will the game be rescheduled? Will there be consequences for those responsible? And perhaps most importantly, how will this affect the credibility of the league moving forward? As more details are inevitably revealed, one thing is clear. This is a story that will dominate NFL headlines for weeks, if not months. Fans, analysts, and insiders will continue to dissect every angle, every decision, and every whisper of impropriety, and we'll all be watching, waiting to see how this unprecedented situation unfolds. In the world of sports, controversy isn't new. But the magnitude of what just happened in Atlanta and Miami is unlike anything we've seen, and it's a reminder that, even in a league as polished as the NFL, chaos and drama are never far away. The Falcons versus Dolphins cancellation is more than a headline. It's a seismic event, one that will be remembered, debated, and analyzed for years to come. And if you think this is the end of the story, think again, because the fallout is just beginning. That's a wrap for today's dive. If you're loving the content, share it with a fellow Dolphins fan, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a splash. Fins up.